Today we're going to be talking about root words, and who can read me the definition of what a root word is? Kaylee.
A root word is a word that has a prefix, suffix, or both added to it. Underline the root words in the following slides. Circle the prefix.
Okay, so I'm going to show you some root words, and I will have people come up and help me. You have to underline the base word and circle the prefix or the suffix. What's a prefix? What part of the word does it come in? Does it come in at the beginning? Arden. Alex. Beginning. And so the suffix will come where, Jalen? At the end. So let's look at some of these. We've been practicing. So these should not be new, but who thinks they can come show me on unzipped? James, come show me the base word. Underline that for me and then circle the prefix and suffix. Yeah, use this one right here. Okay, so he has in unzipped, he has zip. Now, James, remember that rule? We have to double that consonant, so technically it would just be the ZIP. But I see why you did that, okay? All right, next one, search. Brooklyn, come underline the base word and circle the suffix. Or the and prefix if there's one. Yeah, use the red one. Good. Thumbs up if you agree with what she did. Good deal. Okay, next one. Hannah, come show me the base word and circle the prefix and suffix. Enraged. Right. So today we're going to be talking about root words, and who can read me the definition of what a root word is? Kaylee.
A root word is a word that has a prefix, suffix, or both added to it. Underline the root words in the following slides. Circle the prefix or the suffix.
Okay, so I'm going to show you some root words, and I will have people come up and help me. You have to underline the base word and circle the prefix or the suffix. What's a prefix? What part of the word does it come in? Does it come in at the beginning? Arden. Alex. Beginning. And so the suffix will come where, Jalen? At the end. So let's look at some of these. We've been practicing. So these should not be new, but who thinks they can come show me on unzipped? James, come show me the base word. Underline that for me and then circle the prefix and suffix. Yeah, use this one right here. Good job. Okay, so he has in unzipped, he has zip. Now, James, remember that rule? We have to double that consonant, so technically it would just be the ZIP. But I see why you did that, okay? All right, next one, search. Brooklyn, come underline the base word and circle the suffix. Or the suffix. And prefix if there's one. Yeah, use the red one, please. Good. Thumbs up if you agree with what she did. Good deal. Okay, next one. Hannah, come show me the base word and circle the prefix and suffix. Enraged. Okay. Let's see. So she has, you can go ahead and have a seat, enraged, and she underlined enraged and circled the ED. Can someone help her? Kylie, can you help her out? You have the suffix right, Hannah. That was she circled EN because that's our prefix. And rage, she underlined for our base word. Okay? Let's look at some more. You guys seem to get this pretty well. Okay. Charles, do dismount. And while he's doing dismount, what do you think dismount might mean? We worked with those prefixes and suffixes earlier this morning. Use the marker, please. Kaylee, what do you think dismount means?
It's where you're on,
You get off. So what did dis mean this morning when we did that worksheet? Workley? Not or opposite, right? So if she did the opposite of mount is to get on, she got off. Okay? And prefixes and suffixes. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna play I have who has, and we are going to use base words, okay? So because we'll have to get on the outside of our room in a circle, that means you need to use a loud voice so that we can hear you.
Yes, ma'am.
So that the next person who has the card can hear you. So, Leanna.
I thought you said you were gonna have a computer on. It is on. The screen will go black.
Okay, so I want you to stand up and quietly get in a circle, and I will hand you your card. Alex, we're not running. You know what? Actually, those of you over here, come down this middle because we don't have to make that big of a circle. You can kind of make a semicircle. Okay, Jalen and Brinley and Chris, come over this way. Card. I've already had this come up. Can I see a card? Are we bending these and folding these?
No, ma'am.
We have to use these for more than just one time. So you need to make sure that you're treating them correctly and not bending them. Okay, so who has the first card? Let's start.
I have the first card. Who has the base word in unbelievable?
Okay. If you don't have it, then you shouldn't be saying it. Who has the base word in unbelievable? You have it? Okay, what is this? What is the answer?
Believe.
Chris.
Believe.
Believe. So who has believe? Bi-weekly. So who has the base word in bi-weekly?
I have who has the base word in unopened.
Okay, who has the base word in unopened?
Open. I don't know.
Who has the base word in unopened?
Who has open? Open. Who has open?
Say-
I have open. Who has the base word in misunderstanding?
Okay. Who has the base word in misunderstanding?
I have understand. Who has pretest? Who has the base word in pretest? Pretest. I have pretest. Who has the base word in cooperate? Cooperate.
Pre-offer. Jalen.
I have brave. Who has the base word
Grayson.
in driven?
Base word of driven.
I have drive. Who has the base word in arrived? I have arrived. Who has the word strongest? I have the word strong. Who has the base word in cracking?
Base word in cracking.
I have cracking. Who has the base word for smartest?
Okay, you're gonna have to read it louder so you can hear you. Migration. Migration.
I have migrate. Who has the base word in prejudge? I have judge. Who
So we have neighbor in A. We have neighbor in B. We have neighbor in C. So what one doesn't belong? Hannah? Huh? D. Unfriendly. What is my base word in unfriendly? Friend. So we'll circle D because that one doesn't belong. And it says they want us to replace it with a word that will fit in this word family. So what's one I could add in, Daniel? Neighbor. Okay. So if you're not unneighborly, you're neighborly. That's unneighborly. You could also do neighbors. That would be another one you could do. Okay, let's do number 2 together, and then I'm going to set you on your own. Okay, what's my base word? Those 3 out of 4. Gracie. It's kind of a tough one. It's community.
G.
Good. So what can we add to number 2? Whoever's kicking and stomping, please stop. That would be another one in that word line. Quickly, think now. Communes. What's that thing called when you, I think it's when you're Catholic, and you take your first communion. Let's do that one. You have 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. I want you to complete those on your own. When you are done, I want you to keep them at your desk and we'll go over them. Okay? Alrighty. So you have about 5 or 6 minutes to work on that. So some ways that I planned for a high level of student engagement was throughout this lesson, I wanted them to get up and move and have different ways of applying and understanding the concept we were reviewing, which was base words along with suffixes and prefixes. The first thing I had them do was a smartboard activity where they would come up and they actually used the pens to write on the smartboard, and they love when they get to use the smartboard. So I knew that they would like this and want to pay attention because a rule most of the time when we do things that are a little bit out of the ordinary is I'm not going to call on you if you are out of your seat or you're talking or you're doing basically not what you're supposed to. So they all definitely wanted a turn, and so they were on their best behavior and very engaged so that they could be called on. And the second thing we did was an I Have Who Has game, and they really like these. We do these for different activities throughout the year, and so this one was a base word, I Have Who Has. So they were familiar with the game and it got them up and moving. So that was good. And then finally we did that worksheet where it was just kind of a different way of answering. They had to circle the one that didn't belong in the word family base word group, and then they had to create their own that they would add to that group of words. So it was just a little bit different than here's your answer or here's your choices and then here's what you have to answer. So I was hoping that would get them engaged more so as well. I perceived the smartboard activity went fairly well. I had all of their attention most of the time. However, the game was a little bit, there were some side conversations going on, and I think a lot of it had to do with we didn't skip a beat after state testing. So they had state testing the day before, and this was the week we actually started it. So they were pretty burnt out, I'm not going to lie, and I didn't feel the need. I wanted to do something fun and a little bit different, but I mean, we just kept on working. We weren't watching movies and we weren't,
having all these other extra things that weren't somewhat of a value. So I think they just kind of were a little bit tired of the having to have their brains think so hard. But we made it through. And then same with the actual worksheet. It was just kind of one of those things where I felt like they were engaged, but I know had it been maybe a different time of year or a different scenario, it was also a Friday, so they're not always as highly engaged on Fridays as they might be in the middle of the week. But I think that they overall did really well and were engaged throughout the lesson. Challenges that arose relating to the engagement and how I handled them. The PowerPoint actually was not working the day before because I had initially wanted it to do work the day before. So the PowerPoint and our Smartboard were having issues, but luckily we got those sorted out because I was worried. I know how much they love the Smartboard and they really do well with it. So I wanted to make sure that they could use that and have some practice with that. Otherwise the lesson might not have been quite as engaging. We had a lot of allergies in the room as well. So lots of coughing, and coughing usually I need a drink, I need to leave, but nothing too major, just, everyday type of dealings. The approach that I will change in future lessons based on what I learned, I would really like to maybe break this mini lesson up just a little bit more. And just because I know how much they love the Smartboard, maybe spend some more time on the Smartboard or have them work in partner groups or even just groups in general that we could go over this together and then one day, they rotate and a group does a Smartboard at a time. So it's a little bit smaller of a group rather than, I have 26 kiddos and each one takes so many minutes to come up and do their work on the Smartboard. And I think that would just create more engagement because it's a smaller group and because they're getting more practice with something that they're really liking. So maybe if I could just break this whole lesson into groups where they could practice more so in a smaller setting and they would get more turns and practice. So overall though, I think it went well and I really enjoyed teaching the lesson.